You're listening to the Fed and Fearless podcast. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Ashley Lambert about how women can get stronger in their bodies, minds, and spirits by starting with strength training. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm your host, Laura Schoenfeld, a registered dietitian, nutrition business coach, and online entrepreneur with over 10 years of experience in online business. And I'm here to show you everything I've learned about creating a life and a business that nourishes you. On this podcast, we'll talk about the lifestyle habits, practical strategies, mindset shifts, and leaps of faith required to build a healthy body, a powerful mind, a strong spirit, and a successful business. Hey there, welcome back to the Fed and Fearless podcast. I'm Laura Schoenfeld, your host, and we have another great conversation for you today on our show. And this guest is someone who first worked with me in my Nutrition Business Accelerator program, and now she's a member of our NBA Next Level coaching program. So I was so excited for her to come on the show and share her wisdom and just her energy as well. She's someone who just has such a calm and sunny energy, and I just love getting to interact with her on a regular basis. So I know you guys are going to love her too, and she's got a ton of knowledge and expertise to share about getting strong and building muscle as a woman. So today's guest is Ashley Lambert. Ashley has been in the health and wellness industry for over 10 years and is now the founder and CEO of APL Wellness. Going into college, she always knew she wanted to help people and create her own business, but she was unclear about what that would be. While studying biology, Ashley took a nutrition class and learned how food is one of our first lines of defense against disease. It became clear to her that many illnesses can be prevented with self-serving healthy habits, and she knew that spreading that message was part of her calling. Following college, Ashley worked as a personal trainer. She worked with all types of people from all different walks of life. She gained knowledge and experience helping people reach a wide variety of wellness goals, but really had a desire to focus on women and helping them navigate through all the information available to help them decipher what was best for their unique bodies and goals. APL Wellness was created because Ashley is passionate about helping women reshape their bodies. She empowers them to nourish themselves physically, mentally, and spiritually so they can build muscle, improve endurance, and enhance their self-esteem. She helps women improve their well-being through strength training, integrative holistic health coaching, and bio-individual nutrition counseling. Partnering with clients to help them transform their health is truly an honor for Ashley. So I'm so excited to have Ashley on the show. And like I said, I just love how she approaches fitness and nutrition and building muscle and just gaining strength for women. And as someone who has a history of athleticism and dancing and then, had a baby recently and is recovering from that, I know that she's got a lot of personal life experience to share with you guys too. So it was an honor having her on the show, and I'm excited for you guys to get to know her. Without further ado, here is Ashley Lambert. All right, everyone. Well, I am so excited to have with us on the show today, Ashley Lambert. Welcome to the Fed and Fearless podcast, Ashley.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. And I know that we have a couple of different things we want to cover between your expertise when it comes to building muscle and leaning out, especially for women, and then also your experience as a business owner, especially starting a business right after having your first baby, which was just, 6 to 12 months ago? Not even, probably less.
Yeah, so you're dead on. He's 13 months today. So yeah, I literally started when he was about 3 months. So That's been awesome. A wild ride.
Yeah, and I want to hear your story because I know a little bit of it, but I think there's probably some details I don't know. And with those kind of conversations, I know they can be really helpful for people because there are so many women out there that tell themselves that they can't do certain things because of XYZ. And not that I'm saying you have to start a business right after having your first baby, but if it's something that you want to do, then obviously Ashley is proof that you can do it. So, but first, let me just have you share your story with our audience so they can get to know you better. How did you get into the health and wellness industry and where you are with your business currently?
Yeah. So I got into the health and wellness industry about 12 years ago now. One of my best friends asked me to do a fitness competition with her. And I was like, I had no idea what that was, what that meant. And I was just like, okay, I'll do it. So I got into the best shape of my life in about 3.5, 4 months. We both competed together. We did bikini for those of you who know what competing and, physique competitions are. And I just got addicted to the feeling of being in the best shape of my life, being the healthiest I've ever been, the discipline that I gained from doing that because we were training 5, 6 days a week, 2+ hours of cardio a day on top of lifting weights. So it
Wow.
was like it was a lot. It was the hardest thing I had ever done up to that point, as far as physically. And I just got addicted to really helping other women feel that and gain that confidence and know that we can honestly do anything that we put our minds to. So that's how I got into health and wellness. I was a dancer my entire life, so I've always been active. So when I stopped dancing professionally, I kind of just rolled right into health and wellness. And I started with just doing personal training here and there as like a side thing because I was still teaching dance, and dance is always my first love and passion. And then I thought, I think I can really do this full time, and it's something that I really want to pursue. So I got certified. I started training at different gyms, small personal training gyms, large gyms. So I got a lot of different experiences doing both scenarios. And then I got pregnant during the pandemic, and I had been wanting to start my own business for a really long time, for a few years. And I just was scared. I had a lot of fear. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know enough. How am I going to find clients? That sort of thing. Just a lot of negative mindset there. But once I had my son, and I just told myself I don't want to go back to the gym because I was in the gym 10, 12 hours a day because I was the lead trainer. So I was there all day. I was in charge of all the other trainers. So it was a lot. And I knew I wanted to be home with my son. So that's when I said, no more. I'm going to start and just push through the fear and just do it and just start. And so that's how I got started with my business.
That's awesome. And were you working that much like leading up to the birth, or when did you leave that position?
So the pandemic hit, and in March of 2019, I believe 2019 is when the gym closed. So they like furloughed everybody and told us, we can't come back. They don't know when we can come back to work. So it was closed for a while. And then they started asking me to come back a few months after that. And at this point, I already knew I was pregnant. And, I was just like, I really don't want to be in the gym, especially because I had no idea what was going on. It was so early in the pandemic. So I was like, I'll think about it. They keep asking me to come back, come back, come back. And finally, I was just like, for this health of my baby and for me, it's just at this point, I can't return. So that's when I said I cannot. So for the last probably 6 months of my pregnancy, I was really just home. It wasn't a bad pregnancy, but I had no energy at all whatsoever. So I always joke with my friends that my butt was implanted on my couch because like I literally didn't really move. And I tried to work on like the back end stuff of my business, like the website and learning and trying to, figure out how to actually run it when my son was actually here. So I tried to be somewhat productive at that point.
Yeah, I definitely empathize with that. I'm right in the middle of that myself. And it's like trying to give myself a lot of grace, but also, at least where I'm at in my business, I unfortunately, as much as I would like to, can't just be like, I'm just not going to work until the baby is here. So there would be a lot of benefit to doing it that way. But unfortunately for me, that's not how it's going to work. But I will say I definitely get that fatigue. Like I think if I didn't have to be doing my business right now, I don't know if I would really want to, because I've had the same kind of experience. So with the training, so it sounds like you still liked doing that, but it had more to do with just the hours and the amount of time you'd have to spend outside of the house. And that's a really common story I've heard from a lot of personal trainers, that they're working like 12-hour days in the gym, and they're getting up. A lot of times you have to get up so early because people want to train before work, and then people want to train after work. So it's these really like not good hours for, really anyone, let alone a new mom. So I can see why that was something you wanted to change. And was there anything in particular, other than that, was there anything that inspired you to have your own business? Like, did you see other people running a business that you were like, oh, that seems really like what I want to do? Or was it just kind of this, I need to do something different and this is the alternative kind of thing?
I think it was a mixture of a few things. One of the things was that I felt like I didn't have enough time with my clients when I worked in the gym, because the way the schedule is, they just schedule everyone back to back to back to back to back. And it's like 30, 25-minute sessions. And I really wanted more time to like talk about like health and nutrition and talk about the whole person instead of just exercise and nutrition, like calories in, calories out. There's so much more to health, in my opinion. So that's one thing that I really struggled with. And then I also just really had a passion for working with women. Like, nothing against men, but my passion, my heart is just with women and just helping build that confidence and that inner strength. And I just love working with women. So I was like, this is where I want to be. I know that's not going to be the scenario if I stay in a gym, because they just assign clients to you. And I wanted more flexibility in my schedule. And now that I have my own business, I have a morning block, I have an evening block, and I have the middle of the day with my son. So it's just ideal all the way around.
Yeah, that's awesome. So actually, I would love to hear if you could walk me through like a day in your life when it comes to serving your clients, because I think this would be really inspiring, especially if people have fitness specific businesses, because I know, well, I shouldn't say I know, but I'm going to guess that doing training is a little different than something like nutrition, because with nutrition, you could go, 3-4 weeks without meeting with somebody and you could still be helping them. But with training, I would imagine there's a little bit more of that, like, got to see them at least every week or something like that. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So typically my current clients, they train about 2 to 3 times a week. So I see them for that. And then we talk about health and nutrition and all things health like every other week. So I'm seeing my clients maybe 4 or 5 times a week, which I love, because then they can actually, I feel like, get more help, and it's more of a quicker process when I'm touching them almost every single day, every other day. So basically we train, and then health coaching is totally separate, because I feel like we can't focus on working out and talking about health and nutrition and stress and, all these other things that you're going through in your life at the same time. So I make it very clear, like, we're going to work out at this time. And then normally all of my health coaching and nutrition coaching is via Zoom. So they're at home, they're comfortable, and we just meet when they have an open time in their schedule.
Cool. So the training's in person and then the rest of it's virtual.
Not for everybody, but for most of my clients right now, they come, I have a gym at my home, so they train here. I do have some online clients to where I send them their workouts and they do it on their own time. I also have online clients who want to be face-to-face with me while they're doing their training. So I have a mixture of ways that I train people. But the health coaching is always separate, no matter the scenario that they're training in.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the virtual one's interesting because I don't think I've ever done a live virtual training session. I have my personal trainer who I actually just saw today. I swear every time I go in, it's like a new body to deal with kind of thing. Because I only see him once a week. But so I see him in person, and then I have, not through my pregnancy, because I've not been very as active as I used to be by any means. But normally when I wasn't pregnant, I would be working out in my home gym once or twice a week on top of that. And then we have a Peloton. So the Peloton is the example of the thing that is like pre-recorded classes that, on the bike, or sometimes I would do strength classes or whatever that they have. And I've never done the like hybrid version where it's virtual, but it's live. So what's that like? Is that something that you kind of just had to figure out for yourself because of the pandemic, or like, how did you decide how you were going to offer that?
Yeah, so the pandemic definitely was a factor in that. But also some of my clients, they want accountability. And so they don't want me to just send them like on-demand workouts they can do at any time. They want to be face-to-face. They want me to be right there with them so they know that their form is correct, that sort of thing. So when I thought about it, I started doing it during the pandemic, and I was like, this is actually really cool. Like, people actually like really appreciate this style of training. And it's easy for me. I'm at my house. I have equipment. So whatever they have, I just mirror what they have as far as equipment. And then I make the workout specifically for them. And then we just go from there.
Do you feel like it's as, I don't want to say effective, but when it comes to giving form correction and stuff, do you find that it is harder to do that virtually than it was or is when you do it in person?
I don't find it harder. It just really depends on the space for the client because, their computer screen or their phone screen, if you're on the floor, it's hard. I'm like, I can't see you. Can you move back or move forward? That sort of thing. That's the only time that we really have issues is if, the camera is an issue. But since it's live, I'm able to see perfectly as if they were here with me in person. So there's really no issue as far as like fixing their form or that sort of thing. I count for them. It's like they're here with me, but it's just we're just through a screen. So it's the same scenario.
Yeah, I'm curious because I know once I have my baby, it'll make it hard to get to my trainer and because he's like a half an hour drive for me. So between the drive and being out of the house for that long, I'm like, maybe I'll have to see if he can do this whole virtual thing. Cause like I said, I've never done it. And as much as I like the in-person, I think I agree that there's a lot of value to that appointment. The accountability, I was saying to my trainer today, I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I wasn't training with you, I would not be lifting at all during my pregnancy, just based on how not interested in exercise I am right now. But I show up and I get there and it's like, I'm not crushing my workout or anything, but I'm doing what I need to do to keep my muscles like at least functional, right? So I can see how having that appointment that is scheduled and you're like, somebody's expecting you to show up would make a huge difference in whether you do it or not. Because even with like the Peloton, it's on demand, which is cool, but that means nobody's like expecting me to be there, which you lose that external accountability piece. So what would you say is the reason that most of your clients start working with you? Because I know personally why I went to my trainer, which this was like getting to like 6 years ago at this point. When I started working out with my trainer is very different than why I still work out with my trainer. So what do most people start wanting to achieve with you?
So a lot of women come to me for like fat loss or weight loss. Some women have hit a plateau and they are like, I don't really know what else to do. I've cut my food down to almost nothing and I'm still not seeing results. And most of them want to gain lean muscle. So they say they want to lose weight and they want to look better in their clothes. They want to tone. So I'm like, okay, that means you want to add lean muscle to your body. So those would be the main reasons, like a fat loss plateau or just wanting to lose a fat initially and then just wanting to gain strength and also not knowing how to work out. Like some women are like, I go to the gym, I lift weights, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I ask for help. People don't want to help me. So, they come to me to learn how to lift weights and what proper form looks like to help achieve their goals.
Do you ever have to educate them about that whole idea between wanting to quote unquote get toned versus gain muscle?
Yes. And then there's always this scenario of women who are like, I don't want to lift. I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to have like big, large muscles like a bodybuilder. So it's just re-educating women and just demystifying that whole scenario because that's just totally not true. And I think about to when I competed and how much protein I was actually eating to gain muscle. And I feel like I'm already genetically predisposed to more muscle. So I just have to explain and educate them. Like you have to eat a certain way to gain that kind of muscle. You have to work out a certain kind of way. If that's not your goal, then of course I'm not going to train you that way. But there is this misconception or misunderstanding that if I lift heavy weights, I'm going to be bulky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and this is not my wheelhouse. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is more just from personal experience. Isn't it true that if you want to gain size with your muscle, it has less to do with how heavy the weight is and more to do with the frequency of workouts, the food you're eating, and also like the rep scheme that you're doing in the workout?
Yes, exactly. All those things like women who are trying to gain muscle, they're working out maybe 2 times a day. On top of that, they're lifting relatively heavy. Some women lift super, super heavy, like 2 or 3 times their weight. But it really is all about how you train reps, duration, time under tension, your nutrition, all those sorts of things become a factor when you're trying to actually build much bigger hypertrophy or bigger muscles.
Because I've seen some more of those traditional bodybuilder workouts, and it seems like they're much higher rep count and a lot of times lower weight than the way that I've trained historically with my trainer is a lot of times higher weight and lower reps. Not lately because I literally can't handle high weights right now, but before I got pregnant, a lot of times it would be heavier sets where it's like, maybe it might be like 2 or 3 reps in a set. And I feel like that style of training was not really designed to make my muscles get bigger. They were designed to make them stronger and, function better and feel better in my body, but it wasn't really going to be like putting on a bunch of muscle mass necessarily. And like I said, you're the expert. So tell me if I'm just completely misleading people here. But I always thought it was interesting that women are like, I don't want to lift too heavy because I don't want to get bulky. And it's like, well, literally the heaviness is not really what would create a larger muscle. So you're fine.
Exactly. It's the time under tension. It's the amount of reps you're doing. And also just the way that you are training. Because if you're isolating like single muscles all the time, of course, those single muscles are going to get bigger. But if you're doing more of like whole body, just strength training, you're working all of your muscles at the same time, you're doing more functional training, then that's not really aiding in hypertrophy. So, and then bulky too is like a subjective thing. Like, what does bulky mean? That means something different to everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's just really getting into that mindset of what women are really, really trying to tell me they don't want to or want to look like. So I'm just like, there's women who lift and there's no one body type that comes out of lifting weights. So everyone responds differently. So it's just re-educating women and just, explaining them the more lean muscle you have, the more fat you can burn while you're doing that thing. So then they're like, oh yeah, I want to lift. I want to do strength training. So it's just, it's beautiful to me to just re-educate women and help them understand the difference between, different types of workouts and that sort of thing. So I just love doing that.
Mm-hmm. Now you had mentioned being a dancer for a long time. Do you still dance for fun or for professional purposes?
I dance for fun now. I don't dance professionally anymore. I stopped training like in my early 20s and I just really started to focus on fitness. But yeah, I danced since I was 3 years old, all the way up to my mid 20s, and jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, everything. And yeah, I just loved it. Still love it, but I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. So what was your experience growing up around, like, did you have any body image stuff with being a dancer? Because I know that's really common, especially in like ballet and some of those ones that there's a certain look that you're supposed to have. And the listeners can maybe hear my air quotes that I'm saying with that. But I don't know if you had an experience, because I know like my listeners probably know that's part of my story, being an athlete and having, body image stuff going on. So was that something that you ran into?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was always more muscular than everybody else. So especially in ballet, I would never consider myself a ballerina, but I didn't have like the long, lean muscle, the long legs. I'm shorter. I have like stumpier legs, that sort of thing. So to me, I always just felt like I stood out differently in dance. Like I was very powerful, like I could jump high and I was a very like powerhouse dancer, but I didn't have like that grace and that like lean, beautiful lines that ballerinas have. It was just different. And at the time I couldn't appreciate that. I just was like, I want to be like everybody else. I want to have long, lean legs and arms and that sort of thing. But looking back, it's just like, that's what made me different as a dancer. I was a powerhouse. I love jazz. I love a sexy jazz number. And that was just me. And that's okay that I was different than everybody else. But of course, when you're younger, it's hard to, hard to come to that conclusion. So
yeah. Do you run into a lot of clients that end up having body image stuff that you have to help them through?
Yes, a lot of body image things and just really trying to help them embrace their body for what it is. And, our bodies are the most efficient and most, advanced system on the planet, if you will, and our bodies can do amazing things. And I think actually pregnancy helped me appreciate my body even more, because giving birth and growing a human, I'm just like, my body can do some really amazing, amazing things. And I think I just took a lot of that for granted. So now I can turn around and help women see the things that their bodies have, help them overcome or have gone through, and just help them appreciate their body for what it is. And of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve it in some way, but just appreciate where you are and really just don't take your body for granted.
Yeah. And what about your postpartum experience? I know we had another NBA student actually talk about postpartum weight loss and how it's a lot harder for a lot of women and how there's so many different factors that come into play. What was your experience like? I don't want to say getting back into shape, but I would imagine if you were, going from being really active to not really exercising much at all, I mean, your body changes, right? So have you had an experience where, like, do you feel like your body's different now? Have you been able to get back to the kind of fitness activities that you used to do before you got pregnant? asking a little selfishly, I'm like, please tell me it gets better. But
yes, it does get better. But for me, I had a really, really, really hard transition after giving birth to my son. I had a really unhealthy that I didn't even know I did. I had an unhealthy view of like my body and my image. I feel like my identity was wrapped in how I looked because I was always a personal trainer. I was always fit. And then after having my son, I was like, I don't recognize this body. Like I have all this extra weight, So it was really a hard transition. But really just had to take a step back. And my faith is very important to me. And really just digging into the word and like seeing how God sees me really helped a lot. And really just trying to appreciate my body for what it had gone through because giving birth is like trauma. So it's been a blessing to really go through that. And, it took a lot of time for me to get back to where I was pre-pregnancy. I feel like I tried to do too much too soon. Like right after I gave birth, I'm trying to like walk on the treadmill and go on like these long walks with my son and do all these hard workouts. And my body just was not ready. It wasn't healed enough. So I was just exhausted. So I just took a step back and I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk, short distance, just get outside and then just let my body heal completely. And then I felt like when I started doing that and changed my mindset of being more appreciative, that's when I was able to start like getting back into strength training and all that stuff. But honestly, I didn't feel as strong as I did until my son was about like 12 months, 11 months. I didn't feel like I was like strong how I was before I had my son. And I think there's also this preconception or this pre-notion where the like media tells us like, oh, you're just going to bounce back after pregnancy if you're already fit. So I had set myself up for failure because I was like, oh, I'm already fit. Like I worked out my entire pregnancy and it just wasn't that way. So it was a huge struggle for me, but I'm just so thankful that I went through that. So now I can turn around and help other women who are maybe not even giving birth, but just having a really hard time with body image and identity and help them out with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been active your whole life, that might have been the first time you ever felt out of shape. If you've been dancing since you were 3, I don't think you probably remember being like 1.5 and not being active, right? So I can imagine that would feel really weird to be, not feeling like yourself, especially after the baby's out. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like right now being pregnant, it's almost like, well, of course I'm tired. I'm pregnant. Of course I can't, walk that fast. I'm pregnant. And I don't know if like right after the baby's out, you're like, all right, get back into my life now. And obviously doesn't happen as fast as I'm sure you probably wanted it to.
Yeah. And I feel like everyone's journey is different. For some women, maybe that, that's their experience. But for me, it was not my experience at all. But it forced me to just really slow down and just let my body just completely heal from having a baby. And I feel like even stronger than ever. Like I'm lifting heavier than I was before I was pregnant. And I don't have any injuries, that sort of thing, no lingering pain. I just feel like my body completely healed after giving birth. And now I'm in a better position at this point.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen some of your workout videos on Instagram and I'm like, oh, it'll be so nice to get back into that because I don't remember if we were recording when we were talking. Oh, I think we were when we were saying how tired you were during pregnancy and how tired I felt. And I'll like mention to my husband, I'm like, is this just my life now? It's just like, just how tired I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And so it's nice to hear that you're feeling stronger than you were even before giving birth. Because that's, I think, being on this side of it, I'll let you know in a year from now how I feel. But I feel like being on this side of it, it's kind of like, you don't know what's going to happen. And you're like, I don't know, maybe I'm never going to be as strong as I used to be, or maybe I'm always going to be a little more tired than I want to be, kind of thing. So it's very encouraging to see someone like you who, you didn't have the easiest time recovering. And it's not like you were like, 6 weeks in, now I'm right back to my workouts or whatever. But it's good to know that you can get to a place where you do feel strong and fit and like happy with how your workouts are going and all of that. Even, only what did you say? Your son is 14 months old?
He's 13 months today.
13. Mm-hmm. So that's not a lot of time. I know sometimes it sounds like a long time. And when you're in it and you're recovering and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have another, this many months until this happens, or I have this many months before I'm allowed to do something. But I I think a lot can happen in a year, and a year can go really fast, right? And so, once you're actually on that other side of it, it's kind of like, oh, wow, look at that. I actually was able to handle that, and I did get through it.
Yeah, and just being able to appreciate the journey that you've been on, because there's so many lessons learned when you're going through difficult times or trials. There's always a blessing in the lesson. So I just look back now at a year and I'm just like, I've really come a long way, not only physically, but like mentally, spiritually. It's been a beautiful journey as far as giving birth to my son and then just really reflecting on the last year.
Yeah. And with your clients that you've worked with for a longer period of time, do you start to see their goals shifting as you continue to work together?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients, when they first come, they really, really, really obsess over the scale. And I really try to shift that mindset because the scale doesn't tell us the whole picture. It tells us like a sliver of what your health is. And, I try to explain to them, like when I go to the doctor, I'm considered overweight and I'm 5'4" and 100 and, 65 pounds and, I'm nowhere overweight, but, the scale doesn't tell us everything. So I really try to help them focus on internal change as much as the physical change. So they do start with wanting to really just focus on the scale. And then we kind of shift into other areas of their life, like as far as getting their stress level down or building confidence or just feeling strong overall, being able to play with their kids or their grandkids, run up the stairs without being winded. So that I just help them to celebrate every single win that they have. And just it's all building up to a bigger, obviously, your biggest goal, which is, whatever they want it to be, whether it's getting stronger, losing body fat, that sort of thing. But just it's so important to celebrate the little things because those will add up to big things in the end.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times those so-called little things are things that actually make such a bigger impact on your quality of life, right? I mean, like the exact number on the scale, if you didn't have a scale, you wouldn't even know that. And it's like, it would make no impact on your life. Whereas being able to play with your kids or, get up off the floor after, if you're down there with your kid or, if you're out with your spouse and you're hiking and you don't need to stop because you're winded. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think about when it comes to how fitness really affects quality of life. And again, it's been funny just being like so easily fatigued and winded and like not feeling like that in the last few months. Like I was even mentioning to my husband the other day, because he just had surgery. Gosh, I guess it was like 6 to 8 weeks ago. I forget exactly what we're at this point, but we have this lake by our house that usually, if it's a walk out and then around and then back, it's maybe like 3 miles, which isn't crazy. I mean, it's not like, a 10-mile hike or something. And we haven't been there in months because me being pregnant, Josh being in pain, like recovering from the surgery. And I was like, I wonder when we're going to be able to do that again. Cause like by the time I have this baby, it's gonna be like middle of the summer and I live in North Carolina. So it'll be like, 90 degrees and 150% humidity. And I was like, we might not be able to do a lake walk until like September or something. And it's just really interesting because it's something that I think I was taking for granted before, just like, oh, if we have some time, we can go for this walk around the lake. It's so pretty. And, it's a nice way to get active and, have a nice conversation. And so I think the people who they're living their life in a way that they're not able to do that kind of stuff because of their lack of fitness and because they're not training and because they're not in that like active lifestyle, I think that people don't always realize what they're missing out on potentially. And, like I said, for me, and maybe you've had that same experience having been active your whole life, it's like you don't realize how much of your life is impacted by lack of fitness until you have a moment where you're like, oh, I am not fit right now and this does not feel good. And I miss being able to move my body the way I want to move it without infringement.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I was the same way as you. Like I would take things for granted, like, oh, I'm just going to work out, blah, 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 and walk, whatever. But being pregnant, you can't do those things. Well, for me, I mean, it was just a struggle because I had no energy. And even from like my clients who have not necessarily gone through that experience lately or ever, it's just little things that they don't think about, like, oh my gosh, I slept so much better after we trained because I was actually tired at night. I expended so much energy during our workout, or, I was never hungry and now I actually have an appetite again and I can listen to my body and actually eat when I feel hungry, not because of the time. And I feel like, oh, I should force myself to eat. So it's like all these little things that to me build up to like the whole picture of health, because there's so much more than just exercise and nutrition. I think about the whole person and like the biopsychological perspective of a person. So I just really help them to focus on all the beautiful aspects of their self and not just the two things that they, want to focus on, which is like exercise and nutrition. Like, let's talk about you as a whole being, as a whole human, as a whole human person.
Mm-hmm. Is that somewhat unusual for a trainer to talk about that kind of stuff?
I think it's rare because we don't have time to do that with our clients. So even if you wanted to, you don't have the time unless you're going to do it like on your own, personal time for free, because, you're not getting paid to sit there and talk about them as a whole being and their stress and their relationships and all other parts of their health. So I feel like it's just the time is not there. And then a lot of people don't even realize how all of that stuff affects their health. They just focus on, I need to lift weights, I need to cut down my calories, and that's going to give me the result I want. And for most people, that's just not the case.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm sure you've had the experience where somebody sticking to a routine of fitness and eating well and all of that can be significantly affected by their mental state, how they see themselves. I mean, Ashley knows this because we've worked together for a while, but a lot of what we end up talking about in our business coaching program has to do with like how you see yourself and like it's like your identity driving the decisions that you make and the actions that you take, right? And so if your identity is that, and in the fitness, we'll use the fitness example, if your identity is someone who isn't fit, isn't an athlete, isn't someone who's like active, then the decision to go work out probably takes a lot more energy, effort, like motivation, convincing yourself versus someone like Ashley, who's, athlete from probably in the womb kind of thing. And I'm sure for you, a lot of your life, it was more, that's just what I do. I don't even have to like think about it because this is just what I do kind of thing. So, so I'd imagine you have a lot of people that have that same kind of challenge where they want to make these behavior changes, which is, there's nothing wrong with working out, right? Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't lift weights or they shouldn't be consistent with their workouts, but a lot of times just having the plan isn't enough, right? Just even having the trainer to like show up and do the work with isn't necessarily enough. So it sounds like what you help your clients with the mental and mindset stuff and self-image and all of that actually could make a huge impact on the physical work that they're doing to improve their health.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why client-centered approach, like coaching, is so important to me, because it's really meeting people where they're at and then helping them get to where they want to go. And we also have to talk about where they've been, because everyone's journey is different. So if I'm working with someone who's been dieting their entire life, it's going to be totally different than someone who is naturally wants to get active, just doesn't know how to eat properly for their body, and they're not getting the results they want. Like, those are totally different people. And so I feel like it's easy to fall into this, like, oh, everything works for everybody the same way. And that's just not true. So it's really important for me to really get to know my clients. And I always tell them, like, my intake form is really personal because I want to know everything about you so I can better serve you and better help you reach your goals. So I really try to look at them as a whole person. So we talk about mental, physical, we talk about their past, their future, we talk about their emotional health, we talk about their purposeful health, if they have any spiritual things they want to talk about, we incorporate that. So I really just try to make it a really deep one-on-one connection with them so I can better serve them and help them reach their goals.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I know that you have a group program that you're running, and I would love to hear what you do with the clients in that program and how it either enhances or compares to one-on-one. Because I know, for a variety of reasons, people either may not want to pay for the one-on-one, or that maybe they like being in a group because there can be that group accountability. Do you feel like the group is like it's literally what I do for one-on-one just in group, or are there any ways that you adjust that to make it more of a group program?
So it's very similar to my one-on-one, but since it's more than, one person at a time, I really try to make it for a wide variety of people of like levels of where they are. That's as far as like nutrition and what people actually know and the kind of education they have is around food. And then also as far as the physical aspect of where people are in their health journey. Some people don't work out at all. Some people do kind of, but they don't really enjoy it. And then I have people who, are people who just work out all the time because they do enjoy it. So I try to make it more well-rounded so that it can fit a woman wherever she is in her journey. So it's easier adapted to where they are to help them reach their goals.
Mm-hmm. And so who would be the right person for that group program? Because I know, with group programs, as much as we want to make it like anyone could join and it could be good for everyone, like at the end of the day, a good group program tends to be like, there's a certain kind of person that this is ideal for and, that I've put the work in to create the best experience for. So how would you describe that person?
So I would describe it for women who are looking to really gain lean muscle. If you're really focused on wanting to learn how to lift weights properly, proper form, if you're looking to intensify your workouts, if you're looking to just start your workouts, because there's always modifications. There's always way to do different exercises to make it fit multiple levels of people. And just women who really want to learn how to nourish their body, their individual body, the best they can to help them reach their health goals. So I know there's so much information out there and it's so confusing because women are like, well, I've tried this, none of it worked, and I don't know what else to do. So I really try to, because it's live trainings, like I'm teaching live, it's easier for me to have a conversation with people and answer their questions and that sort of thing. So it's really is, even though it's not one-on-one, it still feels very personal because I'm still touching them at least once a week. So it's been really great. And, I'm just so excited to help more women. And since it's online, it's women from all over who can join. So I'm really just excited to get it out there and get feedback and just help women reach their health goals.
Yeah. And as a business owner, what was your motivation for creating a group? Because, creating a group program is not easy. It's actually, in some ways, can feel even harder than just doing one-on-one, right? Because it's like you kind of have to think through what are you actually creating and how is it going to serve the group versus, especially with, I don't know, maybe training's not that different from nutrition, but when you're doing one-on-one, a lot of times it's like, I'm just going to do what this unique person needs and I'll just like figure it out as we're going along. And you can't really do that in a group. So what motivated you to take that leap to create something that could be done in a group, knowing that it does take a different way of thinking about serving your clients than maybe just doing the one-on-one would?
Yeah. So I think for me, I love one-on-one, but I felt like I wanted to work with more women at one time. I wanted to have like this sense of community and camaraderie where I feel like we can just support and lift each other up. That's one of the main reasons why I created the group program. Also, the other thing is I can only do so much one-on-one. And with my son, I just don't have the time or the energy after running after my son to just keep doing one-on-one. So I wanted something that was a package basically that I can share with multiple women at a time, but then I can still have that one-on-one connection, but it's just a group of people at the same time. And I feel like since it's online demand workouts, people that are in different time zones, that sort of thing, they can work out whatever time is best for them. And so I just wanted something that was easy to follow and something that's really convenient to follow, but also very educational and actually helping people learn how to actually eat and nourish their body in the proper way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I remember, just transitioning to more of the group program, something that was kind of an unexpected benefit is when you're working with one-on-one, it might feel like you're repeating yourself about stuff all the time, right? And that's actually, in my opinion, as a business coach, that's a good sign that you're ready to do a group program if you're like finding yourself saying the same stuff over and over. But that was something I really noticed with my one-on-ones, especially last year in particular, where it was like, I'm literally individually teaching all these people the same thing that I could be teaching in a group and making the effort that I'm putting out so much more impactful, not only for them where I can actually like work with more people at the same time, but also for me as, the business owner, as someone who is pregnant, about to have a baby, as you mentioned, I can't do one-on-one with everyone that I would want to work with, right? And so being able to think through how do I turn what I do in my one-on-one sessions into a group program, it does take, as I know because you've been working on it, it does take a different type of energy, a different type of thought process. But I feel like, especially if you're busy with one-on-one and you want to do more than that, it's like there's a lot of benefits to it. And like I said, one of them for me was just that idea of knowing that the work I was putting out wasn't just like only affecting one person, right? Because we, like you said, we only have limited time, we have limited energy, maybe less than we want sometimes. And so it's like, listen, if I'm going to put out the same amount of energy and I can help 10 people at the same time versus one, I'd rather do the group of 10 and be able to serve more people without having to work 10 times as hard. So it is something that as a business owner, from my perspective, can really help you have that impact that you want to have without it having to be this like, now I have to work 12-hour days in my own business, even though that's why I left the the gym I was working at, to be able to help the people that I know I can help. So I'm excited for you to have this group program running. And I know, I believe, I have to confirm this, but I think our episode that people are listening to right now should be dropping. I think you had mentioned, is it right before your next round is starting?
Yes. So it'll be dropped about, depending on the date, it'll be about 3 weeks before I start my next round. So, I would love for more people, if they're interested, to hit me up on social media, APL_wellness, or my website, ashleyplambert.com, to get more information about it.
Awesome. And so we'll put the link in the show notes if you guys want to connect with Ashley, both with her website and her Instagram handle. And then we'll also actually link directly to the program, which I'll let you share what the name of it is since you came up with the name.
Yeah, the name is Tenacity. So I'm obsessed with helping women, just women that are super determined. I love that. I love that fire. I love that drive. So I felt like that was the perfect name for the program.
I love it. Yeah, it's a good name, and I love working with those kind of women too. And there's something really exciting about being able to help women that want to help themselves, if that makes sense. Like women that want to get good results, whether that's in their health, their business, wherever it is, and they just need some help, right? Like they just need some guidance, some mentorship, some support, some encouragement, and then they're off to the races. And I'm sure you have that experience with your clients. And so it's exciting to see that that's what you're creating.
Yeah, it's just such an honor and such a privilege to work with women that just really want to make their health a priority. I feel like there's so many options. So when someone decides to work with me, I don't take that for granted. And I just run alongside them to help them reach and surpass whatever goals they have for themselves.
I love it. Well, if you appreciate Ashley's energy and her philosophy and everything, we'll make sure to link to her program in the show notes. You guys can check that out and join her if this sounds like a good fit for you. And I might have to personally consult with you after I give birth to find out what do I need to do to get back into shape and feel like I'm strong again. Because I will say it's like, I don't know, it's this weird frustration that comes when you feel like it really doesn't matter what I do. Like my body's got other stuff going on, so it doesn't care what I want it to do. So once this baby's out and I'm recovered, I'll probably need some help, like getting back into at least the shape that I feel okay about. It doesn't have to be bodybuilder shape or bikini model shape. I just want to feel like I can take a walk around my neighborhood without being like, out of breath. I can't even do this. So
it's all about the small things. It's the small things that we take for granted that we just don't appreciate. So yeah. I would love to help you if you need any help.
Oh, well, do you have any last minute words for wisdom before I let you go? I know I appreciate your time, and I know that our listeners, I'm sure, have learned a lot from you today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say is I really just encourage women out there to really just appreciate the things that your body has gotten you through up to this point. Of course, if you want to improve it in any way, that's always amazing as well. But just appreciate the journey that you've been on, because where you've been is only going to help to where you want to go. So I just really encourage all the women, all my clients, and everyone out there to just start with internal change. And that will definitely help with the external change.
I love it. That's so true. It's definitely a perspective that I've taken in my own life, especially as I've gotten run into more and more challenges. Because as I know, you probably know, the farther along you get in your journey, the more challenges you run into, and the more you realize, oh, this is an internal job. This is not me like changing the external circumstances. So, well, Ashley, I really appreciate your time today and your expertise and your energy. Like I said, you just are this ray of sunshine. I'm always excited to chat with you. So really glad you could come on the show with us today. And thanks to all of our listeners for hanging out with us. We'll see you here next week on the Fed and Fearless podcast. Take care, everybody. Are you a nutritionist or dietitian struggling to figure out how much to charge for your programs and services? Maybe you've heard that as a nutritionist, you should just charge what you're worth. But this way of thinking can cause you to either undercharge your clients or work yourself into the ground trying to earn your worth. As a healthcare provider, you can't set up a pricing structure that forces you to sacrifice your own health and well-being in the name of your business and your clients. But I promise it doesn't have to be this way. When you download my free profit planning workbook, I'll walk you step by step through the 10-step process for determining the right pricing for your nutrition business. As a nutritionist, you have the power to completely change someone's life for the better. There's huge value in that, so it's time to stop underselling what you do. By following along with this worksheet, you can determine exactly what you need to charge to achieve your revenue goals with ease. I'll teach you everything I've learned about pricing from growing my own nutrition business to over $250,000 in revenue annually and helping other dietitian and nutrition entrepreneurs hit their first $10,000 to $30,000 months and beyond. To get your free workbook, go to lauraschoenfeld.com/profit, PROFIT, and grab your copy today, so you no longer have to wonder how to set the right rates for your incredibly valuable nutrition services. That's lauraschoenfeld.com/profit. It's time to make the money that you deserve as a nutritionist, and I can't wait to help you get there.